So this is what's happening now. They sent me to a place that I should not be unloading at. And it's this fence I can't even clear. They had tried to have me pull into an alley, and I was like, I don't think this is gonna work. I'm in Omaha. This is a really crazy situation. So we're gonna be blocking off a driveway. I'm gonna park in there, I'm gonna back into there, then they're gonna have to block a whole street for me to blind back, a busy street. They're gonna have to. It's the only way I'm gonna be able to get out of here. They shouldn't have sent me here. This is one of those spots that is not appropriate for a semi at all. It's way too residential. So yeah, I was trying to make that video kind of quick, but basically the only way for me to get out of the lot that I'm in right now is gonna be to back onto this street. And right now it's fine, but the problem is, if you can see behind me over here, this is like a turn that is all the lanes going one way, because this is a one-way street. And then there's a light right there. And you can see that's basically blind to them. They're coming around full speed. They're not paying attention. So if I try to back out here, it's gonna be tricky. And even with these guys that work here, like, no offense to them, but the thing is, you can tell immediately by the look in someone's eyes, you can tell by the look in their face if there's somebody that knows how to help you back safely. And these guys I don't totally trust. So I asked them if they could just block this whole street, like block all this traffic coming this way for just long enough for me to back straight across, because I feel like that would be safer than trying to do a blind back. But either way is not great. And the only way forward from where I'm standing right now is to pull into an alley that I can't even clear, because there's too many cars, there's a fence, there's dumpsters. It's totally not doable. This is an example of a situation where it would have made the most sense to back me into this lot. There's no good way to do it. This is not a place that's designed for truck traffic. It's just not. Sometimes you find yourself in these situations, and the only thing that you can do is be patient, go slow, take your time, and sometimes pray a little bit. That the problem is, when you're trying to back onto a street and people need to block traffic, you have to hope so much that there's not that one idiot that's like, oh, I can get around that truck, and they're coming around the back of you and you can't see them at all. Because I can't go on I can only blindside. That's all I can do. Not great, never great. So, fuck, fingers crossed. All right, so I'm making a cup of tea while I wait. It's a kind of long wait. There we are. I can turn this off. I have to run the truck in order to use my electric kettle. And unfortunately, oops. This electric kettle, it's made by Bodum. It leaks pretty bad. So that's kind of annoying. But anyway, okay, let me pour this and I'll be right back. All right, so what was I saying? I don't know where I cut off at this point, but I made some tea and I can't drink it yet because it's too hot. And I burned my mouth the other day and I just burned my tongue again. I'm like, oh my God. I'm not gonna be able to taste anything for days. Anyway, if you can like low key hear a little sound of kids screaming in the background, it's because I'm right next to a daycare, which is where I'm delivering. It never dawned on me that someone would do a hand unload of a semi. Like, I just think that's such a weird idea, but okay, I'm not mad. It is kind of lame that it's keeping me here for so many hours, and I'm not sure if I will actually be eligible for detention pay, because I just wanted to share something that was kind of funny, which is I'm getting flashbacks to when I did furniture delivery. I worked for a small startup in Chicago called Schlep, and it was like a on-demand delivery and moving service. So they used an app and everything, and it was actually like, there were a lot of things I really enjoyed about doing that job. Obviously the physicality was up my alley, but one of the things you learn when you do a job like that, which any professional mover has stories about this most likely, is that people buy furniture without measuring whether or not it will fit in their house. And my favorite was always like a 96-inch couch or a 102-inch couch that one of the customers that we worked with a lot, because we worked directly with furniture companies. I'll just say it because it doesn't matter. One of them was Blue Dot, and since I don't work at Schlep anymore, I could say this, but like, if you're gonna buy a high-end piece of furniture, don't buy Blue Dot. Their stuff is not very well made for the cost. It's so expensive and it's not great. Anyway, who cares? They had like a 102-inch couch and I think a 98-inch couch, that didn't fit in most customer places. And it's like someone on a second or third floor Chicago apartment is going to order a 102-inch couch. You think that shit is going to make it up your stairs? Probably not. And the thing that's frustrating about that is customers don't understand. They assume that movers can make it happen. They don't understand that there are limitations of like measurements. You know, like we measured all of the entryways into your building and this doesn't fit. And what was worse is when I was a lead when I was working there. So it'd be me and a teammate, and I was the person who's technically in charge of how things went because I worked there long enough. I had enough experience to be able to be in the lead of certain jobs, all the jobs I did. And it was funny because, you know, being a woman mover, customers are really dubious. I got some real weird energy from some of the guys I encountered on that job, but like customers. Usually I'd be working with someone that would totally like not let it phase them at all, and they would be like kind of backing me up. We'd be a good team. But when you tell the customer that they ordered something that's not going to fit, and they just bought like a $4,000 or $5,000 couch that's not going to fit in their building, they don't want to accept that. So they will try to like, they'll start trying to be like, well, what if you did this and what if you did that? And the worst case scenarios are when things end up needing to be hoisted, which I've been involved in that before. I luckily wasn't the person in charge when that happened because I don't want to be in charge of hoisting a couch up 2 flights into someone's like through someone's balcony door or some shit because they didn't properly measure before buying a multi-$1,000 piece of furniture. And that's the funny thing too, is when you're dealing with people who have a lot of money, they tend to assume that the underlings will figure it out. It's like, bitch, you bought the $5,000 couch. It's on you, you know? It's just funny. Anyway, I'm at this delivery. This is a different situation, but it gave me flashbacks to that because this contractor or whatever ordered doors that are supposed to go in this building, and they didn't measure to see that the elevator they were going to try to use to move these doors onto the second floor is too small for the doors. So now they're moving the doors into a trailer, which is getting very full. So I don't know. This is a very slow process. I'm mildly irritated because this is the second to last load I'm doing for this company. And this is delaying me getting the load that's taking me back to the Chicago area to turn in my truck and be ready for the weekend to move out of the truck. And that's a 2-trip process and all of this stuff. So, but I'm not even mad. It's more like you got to kind of laugh about it because it's just the Murphy's Law of it all. And if, like I've said, if there's any law in trucking, it's Murphy's Law. So all right, let me finish out my saga of the day with my best effort to remain calm, cool, and collected. And I'm grateful. Shout out to my sweet friend Robert, who I love so much, for helping me calm down because I was super pissed a little bit ago, and now I'm back to being able to you know, maintain my sense of humor about situations that are really shitty. So I just want to tell you, I completed this delivery. All the deliveries on this run were strange. It was just like they were in bad areas, or like, when I say bad, I mean areas that are not truck friendly, super tight, very difficult to get in and out of. It's a miraculous that I did a very good job of playing operation with a 72-foot vehicle and didn't even touch anything that I shouldn't touch with it, because it was just like one spot after another. And the place they sent me to this morning was 100% not the kind of place you should ever have deliveries received by a semi. You just shouldn't. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's the type of thing where a semi shouldn't really pull into the lot at all. Ideally, what you would have done in a better situation if you had to receive things there by semi would be to have that truck block a lane of traffic, because there was a turn lane right there. It was a really long turn lane that started before their entrance. So I don't know, I would assume that because it's a public road, you would have to get like police assistance with that. But that to me might have been a better way to do it. I ended up pulling straight into the lot, and the only way to get out was to back across a busy street and have the people that I was delivering to block the street. And they did do a good job of that, thankfully. But I don't like to do that. When these were younger guys also, and I am not trying to say anything about them specifically, you know, other than that they were young, but like I feel more comfortable if I'm having someone block traffic for me or do anything where they have to be behind my truck directing me. I would much rather it be in a situation where it's people who work around trucks all the time that are very familiar with that, because I don't want anyone to get hurt. You know, it's just a situation that a driver ideally shouldn't really be put in, where they're delivering somewhere that isn't ever used to receiving from trucks and doesn't really have the appropriate facilities. So that to me compromises the safety of the situation. And as a driver, you have to approach that very carefully. So I did my best. The only other way out of that lot was a literal alley that I did not have the room to get out of. Like, there were cars and dumpsters and stuff that were in the way. There was a fence. There was no way for me physically to get through that there was no way. The customer, the older person who was like sort of in charge of everything, he told me I could go out that way. And that was a situation too where, as a driver, even if you're not that experienced, sometimes you have to be able to discern by looking. This customer is telling you that you can do something, but you have to know either you can or can't do it. I'm getting a phone call. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I've completed a couple of good vent sessions, and that's what you need to do sometimes. And I think it doesn't even matter who you work for, but when you are in trucking, there are times when you have to really find ways to manage your emotional state. And sometimes that means you need to call somebody, phone a friend, pull off, do whatever you need to do, because things can be frustrating to a level that is not good for your headspace, not good for your mental health. And sometimes you just have to, you know, take 5, call somebody, phone a friend. So I've just had 2 good phone call sessions with friends that have really helped me. So yeah, what I was saying a moment ago before my phone call is, don't just blindly trust customers, because sometimes they don't know. They're not truck drivers. And it depends on where you go. If you go to a place that is used to dealing with drivers, you can tell right away. They're very familiar with their space. Sometimes customers are amazing and they can tell you exactly what to avoid or whatever. You know, it depends on the place, but go with your judgment. And if you can tell that this person is not someone who's used to dealing with trucks, or it's a place that doesn't typically get deliveries by a semi, be very careful. Be very careful and cover your ass first and foremost. Make sure you don't hit anything. Rule number 1 of trucking, don't hit anything. Just stop where you are if you have to. Put your flashers on, stop, and assess, you know? Sometimes you just have to do that kind of thing. So anyway, let's get back to the initial reason why I started filming. Dude, Zen moments here, finding the Zen. Deep breaths, because this company is sucking so much right up till the last couple of days of my employment here. I have such a temptation to like put them on blast, but I'm not going to do that, because that's not how I roll. So I'm just gonna tell you about the frustrating stuff that they're doing, which is, I can't remember exactly, or I don't know exactly like how long I have been back at this job, but I want to say this is like the 3rd week after 2 weeks of training, which was an absolute joke. And I could go on at length about that, but you've seen it in my videos, or if you haven't, you can watch those videos. I think that there are people that they have passed through their securement training that probably have no business driving a truck or doing securement. But anyway, because the training was terrible, it was just, anyway, okay, stop it. Focus. So in the few weeks that I've been here, this is the 3rd or 4th time that I have been sitting and waiting for a dispatch. I've completed my last set of deliveries a couple of hours ago now, and I found a truck stop, which I'm kind of in the boonies. I'm in Nebraska. Thankfully, there was this truck stop. It's a pretty nice new shell. I'm sort of in the Omaha area, or like broader Omaha area, not that close to it. Bottom line, long story short, this dispatch was sent out on the 15th. Today is the 20th. They have had all this time, 4 stops worth of time, including a forced 34 on the road, and it was really like a day and a half of sitting, more than a day and a half of sitting. They've had all this time to find me a load to get me back to the home terminal so I can turn in my truck and move out of my truck, which these guys are letting me sit and rot at a truck stop yet again. And I told my dispatcher, I sent my fleet manager, I sent him a message and I said, if they don't have a plan for me soon, I'm going to start driving back toward the terminal. You know, some drivers would have just said, screw it, and they would have just started driving. Probably older, more experienced drivers would have done that. But I am too much of a goody two-shoes, that's not really the right way to put it, but a rule follower, I guess, in the sense that when it comes to you're a company driver and you have someone else's truck and asset, meaning their trailer, on you, you can't just randomly drive wherever you want to. I mean, technically you physically can do that, but there could be consequences and you don't want to cause problems for yourself, and it comes back to the CYA idea always. So you have to think with your brain and not with your rage. So I let him know, and I was trying to light a fire under him, but it doesn't work because he can't do anything. He's an underling. He doesn't have any power. And the planners here, frankly, I think they suck. I think that's a big part of the problem. I think this company is probably in trouble. I think that they're doing a lot of things that don't make any sense. They're actively hiring more people on every week when they're barely giving their existing new drivers freight. I know that some of the more experienced long-term drivers are keeping moving pretty consistently, from what I've heard, really just from like one or two people. So I shouldn't, I'm saying that take it with a grain of salt. I only know so much. So let me back up. So I sent him that message. He said, I'm working with planning, blah, blah. I always am just like, sure, whatever, buddy, because he says that and it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. So I wait for like an hour because he had said he was on his lunch break. I waited till I knew his break was over. I called again and I didn't reach him. I reached a different fleet manager and I told her, I said, I just want to reiterate to you, I just told my fleet manager, I'm going to start driving toward the home terminal if I'm not given a load soon, because I'm not going to sit in a truck stop again. I just have been sitting in a truck stop in these last few weeks I've been working here since I came back here. I've spent at least 3 full days and more than that, really, sitting in truck stops waiting for loads. She said, well, she starts giving me the freight is tight, the freight market. And I interrupted her and I said, look, I said, I don't mean any disrespect. This isn't directed at you personally, but I am really, frankly, very tired of hearing about the freight market while you guys are actively hiring more drivers every week. And what you're doing is you're waiting for the freight market to pick up while you let us sit and rot, and we're not getting paid and we're bearing the brunt of that. And I think that's wrong. I let her know. And she was like, okay, hang on. She's kind of flustered, you know, because maybe she's not used to someone being so direct and maybe a little aggressive. Polite. I was polite the whole time because I know that this person is not responsible for my current situation. And I'm getting angry and I'm sure she can hear it, but I'm very careful to try to remain respectful because this person is not the reason why I'm in this situation, you know? And I know being on the receiving end of that has to be really unpleasant because I'm sure I'm not the only one calling these guys like, what's going on, you know? So she puts me on hold and she gets in touch with the big boss, who is like the fleet operations manager. This is one of the higher ups, and I've spoken with her a couple of times and I actually liked her when I spoke with her. So that person doesn't speak to me. She gets the fleet manager back on the phone and has that fleet manager say to me, you are not authorized to move the truck. And if you want to resign right now, you can leave the truck there and find another way home. Well, if you're a new driver, prospective driver, listen to what I'm about to say. If someone tells you that you can leave your truck at a random truck stop and get a ride back, and that's you resigning, don't do that, because that's considered abandoning the company's truck and equipment, and that is a very bad thing to do, and that kind of thing is going to go on your record, and you don't want that. So I was like, so this lady is telling this middle manager to tell me to abandon the truck. It's like that's their way of saying, try us. You go ahead and try it. It's a power move, you know? They just whipped it right out and showed it to me, and they're like, what? And I'm like, well, I'm not doing that because it's my record. It's my record on my CSA, whatever. It's up to me to protect it. And that means that sometimes you have to manage your emotions and tolerate things that you don't want to tolerate, because if you don't, it's going to come down on you. And you have to just take a beat and just recognize that, like, I really want to say F these guys and take this truck and start driving. But they specifically said to me, you are not authorized to do that. So is there fallout potentially from that if I decide to say screw you guys and start driving? Maybe. Do they call the police and say that this employee has just effectively been fired and they're driving our truck in an unauthorized manner? Pull them over and arrest them or something. Like, I don't know if that's something that can happen, but I'm not going to try to find out. So these guys are holding me hostage again. And I'm just partly venting, you know, thanks YouTube audience. But I'm also letting you know, like, these are the kinds of things that can happen in trucking that are incredibly frustrating and make you feel kind of trapped. And you have to go to God. For those of you who are believers, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying go to your higher self. Go to your higher self. Think it through. If you're a person with a temper, this is when you need to slow your roll. And I mean literally take deep breaths. Let's do it right now. Let's take a deep breath. Ready? See, I feel better already. Did you do it with me? If you did, I know you feel better too. It works every time. I don't do yoga for nothing, man. It's helped me a lot. It's helping me now. This is where you learn how to manage your emotions, and you can even, to get a little cheesy on you, some who are avid yoga practitioners would say this is what yoga is, and this is what meditation is. Meditation is about taking intrusive thoughts and letting them pass through and remaining in your body and in your breath in a difficult moment, uncomfortable moment. That's what this is. This is an unpleasant moment. It will pass. It's frustrating. I'm angry, but am I going to sit there a year from now and feel this angry, or 6 months or 3 months or a month? No, I'm not. It's going to pass. And as I'm saying this, there's a truck that just backed in next to me with 2 little whippets. See, there's a moment of joy, of levity. I really want to say hi to those doggies. I don't want to say hi to the guy. I just want to talk to the dogs. But yeah, these things happen. And they have you over a barrel, and they know they do, and they don't care about you. And this company is not well managed, and this is the evidence of it. This is a driver having the experience on the ground. They are doing what they need to do to scrape by, meaning they're not going to let me deadhead because they have to make money because they're desperate. And they just sent me on this ridiculous 4-stop brokered load that sent me to places that a truck shouldn't be going, that could, with a less experienced driver, have compromised their truck. Because they're desperate, because they're not doing things very well. They're desperately hiring a bunch more people when they can't keep their existing drivers moving. Like, these are all indications of a sinking ship in my limited experience, but life experience estimation. This clip is getting way too long, so I'm going to stop yammering, but I just wanted to share this with you, and I hope that it helps somebody, especially if you're new to the game. Be prepared. Prepare yourself to handle situations where you feel stuck and you feel trapped, and I'm telling you, you have to find ways to stay calm. Call your friend, or call more than one friend like I just did. Take some deep breaths, think ahead, think a big picture, because if you react in the moment, there's a good chance it could screw you over, and you are the person that has to live with all of this stuff. So just do what you got to do to get through the moment. It's gonna pass, and everything's gonna be all right. And it is, because I'm getting out of this place, and it's for the best, obviously. Okay. I'm out.